Okay, so these are problems that I go over in class, not because I'm going to put them on the test, but because I want to prepare you for what you'll run into when you go on to a four-year school. And so if we look at, I'm working with problem 6.1, and so the Fishbone Corporation, they sold a building that cost $250. It had accumulated depreciation of $100. And they received as consideration $240 non-interest-bearing note. Now we all know that non-interest-bearing means that the note does have interest. It just doesn't tell you it has interest. Okay, that's the first thing we have to be aware of. No way to price the building in the market, and the note was not a marketable note. So we have to use the prevailing interest rate on the note was 9%. So they're asking what amount the gain should be reported at. And so when you're starting to work with these problems, sometimes it's a good idea to kind of go to the journal entry that you know you're going to have to make eventually. And so we know that we're going to be debiting a note receivable, okay, because we're going to take a note because we're selling the equipment. So we're not getting cash, we're getting a note receivable. We know there's going to be some interest on that non-interest bearing note. We know we have to take off the accumulated depreciation, and we have to take the equipment off the books, and they have indicated that there is a gain on the sale. And so what we have to sort out is really, since this is the note receivable is the only solid number we have along with the prevailing interest rate, if we discount that note back to the present value, then we can figure out the rest of it. So let's see how that works. There's no exchange price for the building, so we're going to use the present value of the note. So it's a present value we're looking for. It's a single sum, it's just one note. They say somewhere in here is 3 years, 17 to 20, so it's 3 years out, and 9%. So we take the face value of the note, we look up the factor that's appropriate, and we get the present value of the note is $185,323. So that's essentially what we're saying. We're selling the building for this with the interest factor removed. So if we were going to do the rest of it, we'd say the face value of the note is the $240, the present value is the $185, and then the discount or the interest associated with it would be this $54,676. So then we're able to do the journal entry. We've got our note receivable here for the $240, and then the discount on the notes receivable here. We've got the accumulated depreciation that comes off the books. We've got the building, and then we basically plug the gain on the disposal to make everything add up. So this would be the answer to the question, and that's what you have to do to get there. Okay, so another way to figure out the gain on the sale, but you still have to compute the present value of the note. You can look at it as the book value of the building, which is the cost less the accumulated depreciation to date, compared to what you got, which was the consideration received net of interest. That would also give you the gain on the sale. So that's two ways to approach it. Okay, let's look at what else is Fishbone doing here. They purchased some bonds. Okay, so this is a basic bond problem, and I've gone through those in other videos, so I'm not going to do this one. The only thing to note here is when they say they purchased the bonds to yield 11%, that would be your market rate. Okay, that's the rate that you use to value, figure out the proceeds of the bond issue, because they're saying, how much did they pay for the bonds? So you're doing the present value, single sum for the bond, annuity for the interest. You're using the stated interest rate of 9% to compute the amount of the interest, but when you go to get the factor, you're using the market interest rate. Okay, so you compute the present value of the bonds, the present value of the note, the present value of the bonds, the present value of the interest, and you get the total present value. Okay, so Fishbone now wants to buy a new machine, agreed to pay in for it in equal annual installments. So right there you say it's an annuity, do it the end of each period. That's a regular annuity, ordinary annuity, not an annuity due. And they give you the N and the interest. So it's simply getting you to the right table. We need to know the present, ordinary annuity, 10, 8, and the payment amount, and the present value of the machine comes to 26,840. Okay, this fishbone is very busy. Now they want a special tractor. They're agreeing to pay $20,000 at the time of purchase, so basically $20,000 down, and then $5,000 at the end of each of the next 8 years. Okay, each of the next 8 years, annuity, end of the year, ordinary annuity. They give you the 8, they give you the 12, and it's a matter of the present value of each payment, of the payments comes out to the $24,838. Add that to the initial cash payment, and you get the cost of the tractor. Why I show you these is you don't want to get lost in the problem and forget the initial payment, or include that in your present value calculations, because it's already at its present value. Okay, I think Fishbone does one more thing. Now they want to withdraw $120, including principal, from an investment fund at the end of each of 9 years. Okay, so we know we're dealing ordinary annuity, end of each of 9 years. And it says, what should be required initial investment? So we need to know the now. So we need to know the present. So the payments, present value factor of an ordinary annuity gives you the initial investment. Oh, good. I think that's all we'll do for problem 1, and I'll move on to the next problem.